What is up, everyone? Welcome to round 2 of the Portland Monthly Premodern Paper Magic Afternoon September 2024 tournament. Got a couple of rad decks to show you, so without further ado, let's get into the deck list. First up, we have Alec on a pretty classic build of green-white Terrageddon. This list obviously uses Oath of Druids and Terravores as the main wincon, but also has a ton of land destruction in 4 of Wintergrasp, 4 of Thermokarst, 4 Sphere of Resistance to make all that land destruction matter even more, and actually 4 Sylvan Libraries, which I don't think is pretty standard, but definitely helps you draw into your wincons, especially with all those fetch lands. Sideboard, he's running also pretty standard 4 Caller Herds, some Cataclysms, which are pretty nasty, and a few Enlightened Tutors and Seal of Cleansings just as ways to find, well, the stuff you bring in for your sideboard. Overall, a very strong list, so let's see how it goes. Next up, we have Jerry on another Oath deck. This one is a total brew. This is a Cognivore Simic Oath deck, and if you're not familiar with Cognivore, it is Terravore's blue cousin, and it is a 8-drop with flying. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of instants in all graveyards. So not quite as good as Terravore, but it has its own pluses and minuses, I would say. If you look at the rest of the deck, it's a pretty interesting take on blue control. There are a lot of standstills, ops, accumulated knowledges, facts or fictions, lots of counter spells, some cunning wishes to give you some more answers in the sideboard, and a one of Croson Reclamation to make sure you're bouncing the important bits back into your deck. Also a Dragon Breath to make sure that Cognivore has haste. It's a very cool list, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. So without further ado, let's get into the games. And here we go. Alec is on the left, Jerry is on the right. Very interesting to have an Oath versus Oath matchup. Definitely a tier 1 deck versus a brew. Excited to see how these decks line up. Jerry does have the counter magic to disrupt Alec's early game plan if he's on the play. Looks like he's got a pretty decent hand. Some blue cards, some spells. Just gonna lead off with a Fairy Conclave and pass. And Alec will do the same. Manland, go, Treetop Village. Alright, there's an island. Say go. I don't know if there's any counter magic in hand that he can cast. I think there's that buyback one. Alright, we're gonna AK here. Draw a card. Untap, and let's get one of your lands tapped. Terrageddon Port. Very nasty in Alec's deck. This is one of the reasons why Tasabo's Web was popular for so long. And still is a good sideboard slot, actually. Oh, Jerry drew one of the Cognivores, which you definitely don't want to do. He only has 2 of in the deck. And is just going to say go. Has a standstill, is not playing it. There's a Sphere of Resistance. That's not great. It is going to resolve, though. Jerry is drawing plenty of lands, so that Sphere may not matter too much. However, in a Battle of Lands... Oh no, he does have 2 Mishra's Factories. Okay, that's actually very good for him. Just gonna pass. That Treetop Village is not going anywhere soon. Oh, but there's another Rashawn Port. Say go. And Jerry's gonna Cunning Wish here. What are we grabbing? Is going to cost 1 extra. How about a Teferi's Response? I mean, it's a telegraphed Teferi's Response, so it's not nearly as good. But being able to counter a spell or ability that targets a land you control and then destroying it if it's a permanent, and then drawing 2 cards is a good way to make sure none of your stuff gets ported ever again. Also very good against this deck, considering how much land destruction Alec is running. Now it will cost 3 with the sphere. And Jerry's just going to say go. There's a Windswept Heath. Paying 3. Are we paying 3 for the Oath? Are we telegraphing what we're doing?
Sylvan Library?
No, there is a Sylvan Library. That combined with the fetch land is pretty nice little card selection engine. And Jared is drawn for turn.
Play a Yavi Maya first.
Trying to decide if he wants to actually play out that standstill.
Trigger.
Deciding to not. Alex can resolve his Sylvan Library. That is a Mox, a Swords, and one of the land destruction spells. I can't tell which one. It might be Thermokarst. Doesn't really need mana so much right now. Opting for the Swords, it looked like. And then is going to shuffle away the rest of the deck. Just gonna grab a forest, and are we gonna see our first swing in with the tree top? Probably not. Like I said, you have 2 Mishra's Factories out. Doesn't even really need to worry about them getting tapped. Alright, fetch land number 2. This time not Old Border. Alec is working on making his Premodern deck Old Border. For those of you that have been watching since some of the early months, you'll notice that his Terrageddon decks have been continuously improving both in real cards and Old War cards, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see with people getting into the format. Yes, Old War cards are the best, but you know, not everyone has every Old War card or the budget for it. It looks like we're going to be just Latinam Legacy here, which is shuffling a card back from your hand, and at the beginning of next upkeep you draw 2. Not an often seen card among all the blue cantrips, but definitely a very interesting one. Also great for being able to shuffle Cognivores that you draw back in your deck, which is probably the main reason why it's in this deck, which is a very smart include. Another land for Jerry, and we've got a lot of lands. All right, there's a Power Keg. Now, I hope he remembers this, but Powder Keg does not actually destroy enchantments. It's not quite a Nevin Rawls disc, as much as I would want it to be, because that'd be fantastic. And I have definitely been in that situation where I forgot it doesn't hit enchantments, which is definitely relevant in this matchup, but also might just be a good way for him to get rid of that sphere. Alright, looks like Alex is taking the Mox here. Gonna fetch. grab another forest. I believe that's one of the proxy forests from a past meetup with the rainbow cats. We definitely don't have boring art for our proxy cards, I'll tell you what. I believe the birds of paradise were in that set too, which were also rainbow neon cats. Alright, land coming down. Both players having basically all the mana in the world. That sphere of resistance is not really doing too much. Alright, Alec getting on the offensive. Gonna swing in with a treetop. He does have 2 swords up, I believe. Can only functionally cast 1. And Jerry's just gonna let the damage through.
Actually, Dust Bowl. I'll sack my Yava my coast and I'll take your.
And then is gonna Dust Bowl the treetop. Did I get that right? That seems an interesting sequence.
Use counter on Powder Keg, and I will draw for 2.
Alright, there's a counter spell.
Play Yava my coast. We will.
Not really finding much for his game plan. This is definitely a bit of a watch and wait matchup. Both players behind Oath decks means both players don't play creatures very much, which means Oath doesn't trigger very much, which means you both really just look at each other and pass. But Jerry's turn to get on the offensive here. Swinging in with 2 factories. Before attacks are declared, though, we are going to swords. And we do need to pay 2 for that swords. But we're then going to Teferi's Response. That maybe wasn't the best use of the Teferi's Response. Especially since Alec could then just tap one of those down with the Rishon Par. But anyways, damage went through. Moving on. Jerry with 2 counter spells actually in hand right now. Drawing the second one. And this is one thing I actually forgot to notice. Does Alec's deck have Armageddon in it? I think it does, right? I didn't call it out on the deck tech, but now I'm kind of questioning if it actually is a Terrageddon deck or if it's just a green-white Terra Oath deck.
I got a Conclave, 2 basic islands, a Yavimaya Coast, and a Dust Bowl, and 2 factories.
Alright, Alec asking for a little more detail on what's in play, and we are going to Winter's Grasp the Yavimaya Coast. And I'm just looking through his list real quick, because maybe there is no Armageddon in the main. It doesn't appear so, actually, now that I'm looking through it. Very interesting, okay. So, not actually quite a Terrageddon list. It's definitely a land destruction heavy list with Terravore, but no Geddons. There are the Cataclysms in the side, so it can fulfill that role arguably better. And Alec with the double port on the factories means Jerry is just going to pass. Alright, that looked like mostly lands. Yeah, brushland, a wasteland. Is that a Winter's Grasp? Winter's Grasp probably going on the top. Unless you're grabbing the Wasteland just to make it easy. He doesn't have any more fetches. He does have 3 Rashad imports now, though. And is actually going to be taking 4 here to draw 2 cards. Alright, starting off with the Brushland. Tapping 4. For a Winter's Grasp, I'm assuming. And which manland are we hitting here? Or at least trying to hit. Hitting a forest. Alex seeing that green is somewhat important to the deck and is trying his best to keep Jerry off of green. Little does he know that green is mostly just for Oath. Alright, that one is going to get Arcane Denialed. That awesome Richard King Ferguson art. Alright, you get to draw 2, I draw 1, and then draw 1 for turn. Untap.
Yeah, we animate. Yep. Wait, do I have? Yeah, I have the mana. So yeah, we animate the 2 factories.
Alright, land for turn.
Animate the conclave.
No, we're just going to game number 2. Alec is packing it in. Yeah, funnily enough, I actually also did not realize that Alec was so low, and maybe he just forgot that those manlands could kill him, especially tapping down the Rashad imports. So, yeah, I guess we're just in game number 2. That was definitely a longer game. I think neither player had a huge advantage. Alright, we're playing a little quicker here now in game number 2. Jerry getting his Fairy Conclave down. Alec having his Rashad Import and Forest, getting his Sylvan Library trigger. Looks like a Swords and 2 Winter's Grasps. Opting to put one of those Winter's Grasps in the main, or into hand. And then a Windswept Teeth to shuffle it away, probably grabbing a Forest here, yeah, so you can play it. Winter's Grasp being double green. And probably just going to hit the Conclave right away. Now, Jerry does have 2 blue up, so he could counter it. I don't know if he's got a counterspell in hand. I see a couple of Accumulated Knowledges. And some Ops. But that's it for the green. Oh, and a Lotnom's Legacy. Alright, we're going to be shuffling back something. Shuffling back the Opt. Going to draw 2 on next end step. Alright, draw on the 2, and then draw for turn. A Misdirection. Interesting. I think that must have came in from the sideboard. And there is a Bomb. Again, doesn't blow up enchantments. But I don't know if Jerry realizes that. Alright, Alec taking an additional 4 here to draw an extra card. That is a Wasteland, which will get played out. Alright, there's another Winter's Grasp. And then there's the Wasteland for your other land. Say go. And looks like Jerry is not ticking that up. The Teferi's response, a turn too slow, unfortunately. Has a Yavimaya Coast and say go. Alright, there's a Mox Diamond, a land, and... Is that a Call of the Herd? It might be. Interesting include, obviously, Alec didn't see any Oath before, so he has no reason to expect there's a reason to be Creature Light. He wanted to be a little more aggressive this turn to deal with all those man lands. Makes a lot of sense. But we're just going to opt for some land destruction. Call the Herd coming to hand, and probably coming down this turn. Yes. Now, that bomb can blow it up if Jerry wants to. He's not been putting counters on it, but is finding lands, just not enough to do too much. He does have a Stifle pull to the front. Alright, there's a Thermal Karst. That'll be destroyed. Swing in for 3. Crack the bomb, blow it up. Good call. Hits another land. Now, if this was a regular match, Jerry would be lamenting how much he's flooding. But in this match, it's going great. And I think Alex just found another Call of the Herd. So he could cast 2 here, if he really wanted to. Now it looks like we're just going to be flashing back the one that Jerry knows about. Which actually does make me wonder if Alec does have 2 in hand. They're just going to say go. Port your only land. There's a Dust Bowl. Not going to do too much right now. Pass. That's 2 Moxes and a fetch. Probably just taking the fetch here, yeah. Be able to shuffle away those Moxen, hopefully find something better.
Oh no. Oh, we have...
And actually, are there any basics left in the deck? I just realized there's quite a few out. No, that's a fail to find. Interesting. Running very trim on the basics, actually. Just 1 plains and 3 forests, it looks like. All right, gonna swing in for 3. Second main. Let's Call the Herd. Make another 3/3 and say go, porting your... Well, that's not really the port. But thematically, we know what he's trying to do. Porting down the swamp. And Jerry, unfortunately, having to discard a hand size, it looks like here.
Uncastable right now. Go ahead. As is my entire hand.
And now we're swinging in for 6 a turn. Say go.
Did you take 3 damage last turn? I did. Okay, alright. Pass the turn. I'm gonna...
And this time we are actually going to do the right card for porting. Now... Nope. Okay, looks like we're packing it up and going to game number 3. Okay, here we are in game number 3. Jerry getting a taste of what the Terrageddon deck can do when it draws all its land destruction spells on the play. Not even a mock start for Alec there, but still deadly enough. Interesting to see Oath in Jerry's hand. Having seen, well, I guess technically, the elephants in game 2. But we're going to lead off with a Treetop Village. Both players keeping a 7 here as well. And Alec does have a mock start. That's a promo mox, or proxy mox, I should say. Again, we play at Lucky Lab, so A lot of the proxies that get made have dogs on them, usually labs. Alright, and that treetop getting ported with the Mox. And drawing another port, it looks like. But instead is just going to lead off with a forest for a Terrageddon. It's just a little guy. It's a 1/1. Don't worry about it. It's fine. That oath becoming way more valuable now. There we go. And Alec may be a little surprised to see it. However, can Jerry turn over enough cards off that oath trigger to make a difference? Alright, Alec's going to Enlighten Tutor here. Grabbing a Seal of Cleansing from the sideboard. Having not seen the oath, he must have known Jerry was on oath. Because I can't... Well, I guess... No, technically that seal would have come in for the artifact, the Goblin Bomb one that has been played both in games 1 and 2. So that is a good response to it. As long as he has a white source, which there's another Mox pitching Rashawn Port, gonna play it out, blow it up, and you can tell Jerry's not too happy about that. Swinging in for 2 say go. One other benefit of the Mox in the Terrageddon decks, of course, is that it does buff your Terrageddon. Tapping 3, that's a Cataclysm in hand. Winter's Grasp. We're gonna Factor Fiction here in response. Naturalize, Arcane Denial, Yavimaya Coast, Mishra's Factory, and Powder Keg. So the Treetop Village is dying no matter what. What does Alec want to make these piles? Viewers, if you made it this far in the video, comment below what you think the pile should be. Looking at this now, I would probably put, gosh, the Powder Keg probably, I'd want to make the Powder Keg pile the least likely. Interesting. Okay, so he's not taking the Powder Keg. I guess it could potentially be too slow. Counterspell on the draw for Jerry. That Terrageddon is still just a 2/2. No, now it's a 3/3, sorry. A swing in. No Cataclysm yet. There you go. Too many blue, too much blue mana open. Alright, on the end step, Jerry is gonna Latnam's Legacy here. Shuffling card back, hoping to draw 2 better ones.
Whenever your opponent takes the pile of 2 with Factor Fiction, you feel like you did it right.
Yeah, no, you did. That was the correct move. And then also, still on your end step, I'll cast an AK.
And then also an AK, which I think is the first. Okay, so drawing so many cards. Oh no, don't forget about the, yeah. And should draw 1 more. Oh no, I think he forgot to draw an extra card. Well, he has 3 counterspells in hand, which, if you haven't noticed yet, those are also proxies. We are a proxy-friendly format, and a proxy-friendly group. As long as people want to play the game, we don't want the price of cards to restrict them, especially if they have a specific idea in mind, like a brew that may be outside of what they normally do.
Attack for two 3/3s.
2/3s.
All right, animating the treetop factory, or treetop village, sorry, swinging in for a boatload down to 6,
Upkeep, hit your dual land.
porting a land. Are we gonna see some kind of salvation here for Jerry? I see a lot of counterspells and a lot of lands, and a Mishra's factory that could trade with the treetop village. But it looks like that's going to get ported, and that is going to be game number 3. Alec takes it down. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Comments also are much appreciated. If you want to support the channel even more, there's a Patreon link in the video description below. That money goes towards gear upgrades, travel expenses, and making more pre-modern videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.